What is going on, everybody? This is Sixers Postgame Live. We are reacting to the Sixers 100-88 W over the Phoenix Suns. Top takeaways, player of the games, and more. Joining my man right there, Tiago, at Tiago PHL. What's good, Tiago?
What's going on, Chris? Lucid Knicks beat the Suns. Who had that on their bingo card for the season? Not expecting this performance tonight. A lot of positives to talk about. Overall, phenomenal performance, especially defensively. It was very fun to watch for sure.
Yeah, the last time the Sixers beat the Suns was in 2019. It's been 6 straight losses against the Phoenix Suns. Look at the box score the last time the Sixers won. Joel Embiid had 42 points, and Jonah freaking Bolden was in the starting lineup, man. That's how far back this one goes. What's going on, Sean?
Yeah, a little bit more positive tune, I guess, for us hopping on this time. So it was good to see. I think that was just an overall effort that was needed to see from the Sixers team. Saw some signs of life. Saw Joel Embiid looking more like himself, and something to build off for sure.
Yeah, let's jump right in here to Joel Embiid, man. Looked engaged as ever from the jump. It's been a while, but we got to see fun Embiid. Fun Embiid is my favorite Embiid. He finished the game with 33 points, 10 boards, 5 assists. But what I like to see is that 16 of 16 from the free throw line. He was engaged from the jump. It's just he's our leader, man. And there was a trickle-down effect. We're going to talk about the offense and the defense and things like that. But when Embiid is engaged, so was the rest of the team. He just feeds off into every other little nuance of this basketball squad. I'll throw it to you, Tiago. What was your take on Embiid's performance?
Yeah, setting the tone, right? You're playing one of the better NBA teams. You got to show up, and you got to set the tone defensively. I thought he was phenomenal defensively. I thought that it was a lot asked of him to do tonight, protecting the rim, getting out on the perimeter at times. I thought he delivered on the message. He still got those movement skills that makes him a pretty damn good defender, and it's really good to see that come out against the Suns tonight. I thought that the 7 offensive rebounds, right? I think that shows the aggression that you're talking about, Chris, like the 16 free throws, the 7 offensive rebounds. That's a guy who came out to play tonight. And against DeAndre Ayton, he needed to show up tonight. I thought that, the team kind of followed his lead. It was him and Niang in the fourth quarter of the game. And you hope we see more of those performances tonight from Embiid, like you saw tonight from Embiid, because they're a very, very tough team, man, when he's playing at that level for sure. So overall, I thought this was the MVP level performance by Embiid throughout the whole night.
Yeah. What about you, Sean?
Yeah, I thought defensively especially is where the biggest impact was, and just having that locked in from the beginning. We can add all these new pieces. We can add these guys surrounding. If Embiid is not setting the tone, then this Sixers team just can't be the team it's supposed to be. And we saw that tonight, just like him being present, protecting the rim, moving his feet when he switched out to Devin Booker on a play. Stuff like that is super important, and that is what makes him so special, is the way he can do it on both sides of the court. So it was nice to finally see that. And as much as we're going to talk about this gap of Harden having an impact on Maxey, I think there's a little aspect of Embiid kind of being the full ringleader of this team and setting the identity and getting that back in order and then throwing him back in the mix, which I think could work out in the long haul.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Here is Joel Embiid's shot chart. A lot of red there, but he was definitely efficient in the second half, which you like to see. Let's go to Bang Bang Georges Niang, because that dude kept the Sixers at bay throughout the fourth quarter. How many fourth quarter threes did that guy have? Like 4 or 5? Yeah. It was epic. I think he had 4 catch and shoot threes. A couple of those were on back-to-back possessions. He even had, what I like to see from Georges Niang was that strip he had on Devin Booker under the basket, which led to a Tobias Harris ISO bucket mismatch. And those are the little things that I want to see from Niang, because we all know when that guy's not hitting his shot, he basically gives you nothing and so forth. So I'll throw it to you, Sean. Georges Niang, what was your thoughts on Georges Niang?
Yeah, I thought specifically next to Embiid, he looked really good too. So the positive about Niang is he is like such a clean fit next to the two stars with Harden and Embiid, just as a willing catch and shoot floor spacing guy. He is very much live with the three, die with the three, because that's just what he does. But he gets it up at such a quick rate. I was looking at his catch and shoot numbers, ranking the top 10 as far as efficiency in the NBA so far this year. So like that's what he's here for. Tonight he got hot. 7 of 10 from three is pretty ridiculous, and I mean, that's why he's here. It's just being willing to let it fly, and he did it. It's amazing. Like, he doesn't even really jump anymore either. He just kind of like slings it, and it works. So I can't complain.
There are just times, Sean. I'm sorry, but like, yeah, there are times when he fits really well, but there's also times where you just see how the defense just picks apart George Niang, almost like I'm watching Seth Curry get picked apart in the pick and roll in the playoffs. Like it's just it's hard not to ignore it. What about you, Tiago?
Picking apart is an understatement, Chris. I think he'd be a better defender than George Niang out there.
Yeah.
The guy had a phenomenal game, man. Kudos to him, tip of the cap. He absolutely led the Sixers to a win. There's no questions about that. What I'm thinking about Niang is more long-term, right? So 27 minutes tonight, you needed all of those 27 minutes to win the game. There's no question. But when the shot's not falling, right, are you going to still have him out there on the court? And tonight, for instance, House had 0 minutes, and it's fine. Again, Niang was kind of on his stride, and you kind of ride with that. But is Doc now moving towards pushing House out of the rotation? Because House is the guy who can hit shots, defend, do multiple things from that power forward position. Doc, from what I see, thinks that Niang can do multiple things on the court, which I don't see that to be the case. I think he's more just a catch-and-shoot guy, like you said. So projecting long-term, and his minutes are down. He's down 6 or 7 minutes from last year, which I think it's around the kind of player that he is in the NBA. But moving forward, you still want to see that balance between a guy who, yes, can hit shots, can deliver in a big moment like he did tonight, and absolutely the Sixers needed every one of those shots. However, when the shots are not falling, are you okay with putting him on the bench and having House or someone else step into that role, Matisse, defensively as well? Because defensively, he bleeds a ton of points, man. Like a ton of points. As soon as he was out there, it became a layup line to the rim. So, but overall, a phenomenal game from Niang, no questions.
Yeah, and to be clear, I don't look at him as a part of the playoff rotation or significant like that, but I do think he's a regular season innings eater kind of guy. And like tonight, I think is a prime example of what we needed. Also, I'm pretty sure House was ruled out before the game with sickness, so it wasn't like a.
Oh, he was. Okay.
Yeah, so it wasn't him fully. So we'll see if that changes when he comes back in. But I don't know. I'm not confident in Doc to kind of cut the plug on Niang come postseason time, but I do think that's like the right role for him. But that being said, like regular season, we need him for nights like tonight.
Yep, absolutely agree. Quinn's in house. What's going on, Quinn? Says minivan looked like Ray Allen tonight. I mean, I think the Sixers went on a 10-0 run in the fourth quarter, and that was a huge part. He was a huge part of that success. Nice Tobias Harris game. We're going to touch on Tobias Harris right after this. Superhero 18 is in the house saying, I ended up oversleeping. So this is a great thing to wake up to. Joel had 5 dimes, and I think that's big for the Sixers. If he could be a willing passer, a lot opens up. You guys agree, correct?
Oh, yeah. The back cut to Tobias in the first half was absolutely gorgeous, the way they had that sealed off and cut there. I thought Embiid was very good overall, and as a playmaker, it felt like he like commanded the offense way more than we've seen. Like it felt like a little bit like last year in the pre-Harden where he took control, was kind of calling the plays around, which, again, we're going to have to find a balance between these two when they're both here. But I think it was good for Embiid to kind of have a moment to take control, and I thought the passing was good tonight overall.
Guys, It's only like a couple months ago when Embiid was having 8 to 10 assist games before Harden was here. So the passing is still there. It's just a matter of, are you willing to dish? And are guys that are willing to cut? I mean, you saw PJ Tucker cut a couple times to the rim. Very easy assists. Tobias. So it's just a matter of, is he willing to throw the ball out on the perimeter and get the ball moving? And when he's willing to do that, he can be a lethal passer, man. He's got high-level passing ability. So we saw a little bit of that tonight.
Yep. Here is George Niang's shot chart. Epic game, career high for George Niang. Bill says back-to-back bad games from Tyrese Maxey. Needs Harden. Let's touch on Tyrese Maxey real quick. It was a tough night for Maxey. Played another game, 40 minutes here. Did not hit a three-pointer, which I'm going to look back into his game log while you guys are talking, because I don't know when the last time that happened for Tyrese Maxey, because he's been on fire there. Throw it to you, Sean. Any concerns about Tyrese Maxey or Doc Rivers running Tyrese Maxey into the ground?
Yeah, not really. I mean, he didn't have it tonight for sure. Like a bunch of like the layups around the rim or the ones that he touches off the glass just kind of rolled out in a way that's very uncharacteristic of him. I like that he kept shooting. He hit a nice pull up towards late in the game. He took a deep three pretty late in the game, even like when it was pretty clear he was cold. So I like his confidence to keep shooting through it. He also missed back-to-back free throws, which we never see from him either. So definitely an uncharacteristic night. I wouldn't mind him getting some sort of rest or some sort of scaled back. I mean, they have the next 2 days off, which is good. But overall, I'm sure he'll bounce back. I think there's just an adjustment overall with the team, but he's going to be fine.
So Tyrese Maxey had an 0 for 3 from three-point range on 10-20 against the Bucks. Every other game, he's had at least 2 or more three-pointers. So this doesn't happen. Tiago, any concerns?
Yeah, I think the minutes thing is becoming an issue. 41 minutes average so far this month. Another 40-minute night tonight. I'm looking at the Sixers schedule right now. You got the Hawks on Thursday, the Hawks on Saturday, the Jazz on Sunday, and then you got the Bucks the following Friday. So there's definitely room for him to potentially sit in that Jazz game and get a full week's worth of rest leading into the Bucks game the following week. Hey man, the shots are not going to fall sometimes, and I think where Tyrese can get a little bit lost is when he doesn't slow down. I mean, you can clearly tell the guy's a one-speed player, and with guys like D'Antoni, I'm going to mispronounce the guy's name 1,000 times tonight, so I apologize in advance. D'Antoni, what is it? Aiden, whatever his name is. Blanked on the guy's name, and it's not going to come back from me. With him at the rim, it's tough, man. It's tough. It's tough for you to hit that floater consistently. It's tough for you to be that kind of player that we've seen. So overall, I think that he can benefit from slowing down and kind of seeing the court a little bit better. But again, for it to become an issue, you got to be looking at multiple games and a multiple stretch. And so far, it's only been a couple games. I think it would benefit from a rest. And I'll also say this, when you're playing the Suns, you can't have guys setting half-hearted screens because you get guys like Mikal Bridges coming off screens and they're hounding Maxey right from the start. So I think it would benefit from Embiid and even sometimes Paul Reed just setting stronger screens, creating a little more space for him to come off those screens and attack the rim. So I think it's a combination of multiple things, but like Sean said, he could probably benefit a little bit from just having a night off here and there.
Yeah. All right, let's roll into Tobias Harris before we touch on player of the game. Tobias Harris had a really good first half in this one, especially he ended up with this one, 21 points, 7 of 18 from the field, 3 of 7 from three-point range, 8 boards, 6 assists. Dude was playing hard out there, especially defensively. Tiago, thoughts on Tobias Harris?
Yeah, I mean, he really was phenomenal in that first quarter. I thought he also, alongside Embiid, really set the tone. There were a couple of times during the game where he kind of fell back into his isolation Tobias, which we all agree it's not the way to go. But one of the league leaders in catch and shoot points, man. And, that's one of the guys that within the structure of the team has really embraced his role very well offensively. I tip my cap off to him because that is a hard thing to do for a guy who makes that much money. And he definitely balled out tonight. So I think that overall was a very good Tobias game as a complementary piece to Joel Embiid. And again, defensively, he definitely played his role as well.
Sean.
Yeah, I agree. I thought he looked more confident tonight than I think we've seen at times. There definitely was a little bit of, for good or for bad, like the old Tobias sneaking in tonight. But I'm not as critical of it as I typically am because it's just kind of the necessity out of what the offense looked like with Maxey not having it, with Harden not there. I thought there were moments where he kind of took it on and it kind of worked out. So We do take that. The shot clock or the shot chart doesn't look great, but
Doesn't.
I thought it was a good Tobias game, so I'm happy with him.
Yeah, that shot chart does not go with the eye test.
Yeah.
At least on my end.
Showed a little scrap too. He was ready on that Damian Lee thing at the end.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, Damian Lee had a lot to complain about because that Joel Embiid trip was 100% flagrant.
Yeah.
How they missed that trip on him.
Harris balled tonight. His defense is underrated at times. Yeah, man.
Competes.
What are your thoughts so far on Tobias Harris with or without James Harden? I want to hear your thoughts on that, Tiago. Like, does Tobias feel more comfortable without James Harden in that like more ISO opportunity kind of basketball versus with James Harden where he's just straight up catch and shoot? Any thoughts on that?
Is he more comfortable without James Harden? I would say probably yes. And the reason why I say that is because he's comfortable in that isolation post-up area. Now, is he a better player and a better fit for the Sixers without James Harden? And I'm going to say absolutely not. I think that we need him slotted into that catch and shoot role and having James Harden play make. As the season goes along, we should be probably talking about at some point of if the Sixers want to win a championship, they may want to be looking at reducing Tobias Harris's minutes, because I think defensively, for as good as he has been, an improved player for sure, he still bleeds points. And I think that the Sixers with Harden, Maxey, and Embiid have enough offensive firepower to win you games. So I think at that point, you want to fill the rest of the starting five with defensive-minded players, PJ Tucker being one of them, obviously. And PJ Tucker does not look like the same player he did in Miami. I'm sorry, he just doesn't right now. And then perhaps you want to have somebody else fill that role. So we'll see how the season progresses. But to answer your question, yes, he does look more comfortable, but I don't think that's the Tobias Harris the Sixers won in the second half of the year.
Yeah. And to reduce Toby's minutes for who, the guy I was going to bring up was probably DeAnthony Melton, maybe Matisse Thybulle. I think Melton's the cleaner, just fit. Thybulle, we know, isn't a postseason guy. We're getting pretty small when we do that, but it's kind of one of those, you got to give and take a little bit. The thing about Tobias that bothers me is I'll give him a ton of credit for his on-ball defense getting better. Off-ball, he still falls asleep at times. And when we already have a guy like James Harden who is known to fall asleep off ball, you just can't kind of have another one of that. And like you said, Tiago, like we have these offensive pieces, and also with Tobias falling into like his middle post, whatever, that's kind of just taking away a touch from Embiid in that area, which if it comes down to it, like you can't have too many guys doing that. And Embiid is very clearly like the guy we want in that spot. So I think he fits into his role way better with Harden. He's kind of essentially trying to be a 3-and-D guy, and that's just not fully him. So credit to him for it, but I do think Melton's going to eventually emerge as the guy as long as Doc's willing to play with it.
Agreed. Superhero 18 says maybe more comfortable, but they need him to be that Robert Horry type guy without Harden. So Bill says, let's not forget Melton is super. How do you pronounce that?
Sus.
I don't know. In the postseason, it's the thing that most Grizzly fans and writers complain about. That's true, man. He's to prove that he can get it done in the postseason. But I'm loving what I see from DeAnthony Melton. I think the offense will come around, but the dude is such a good defensive player, man. Plays bigger than he is. Let's jump into player of the game. As always, I'll go last. Sean, you go first.
I gotta roll with the minivan, then. I gotta give it to Georges. He doesn't get it too often, so whenever he's got the chance. But for real, his 3-point shooting was kind of the difference tonight. They absolutely needed that spark of a guy just willing to let it fly. He did. He got the crowd into it, got the Sixers, and essentially kind of sealed him the deal. So they needed that. He delivered, and shout out Georges Niang.
Georges Niang with a shout out. What about you, Tiago?
Chris, I'm going to give my shout out to Doc Rivers tonight.
What?
Wow.
And the reason why I'm giving my shout out to Doc Rivers tonight is because at least for one night, he decided to play his best defenders on the court. and we saw what the impact was. They held the Suns, one of the better offenses in the NBA, missing Chris Paul for a while, but still a formidable opponent, to less than 100 points, which meant Paul Reed played over 10 minutes. I don't know how many minutes Matisse played, but he had a role in the game tonight. He went with common sense. Common sense won. Hooray. And I think that tomorrow, Daryl Morey should be looking to replace that Montrezl Harrell roster spot ASAP.
Yes.
Because I think it's pretty clear what has been working, what worked tonight. And to what some of the comments said on the chat, they need more ball handlers, shooters in that roster, man. And, with Paul Reed playing the way he has, another phenomenal game from Reed, that roster spot should be going to something else. So we'll see how that plays out. But for one night, I thought Rivers did his job and did his job well.
Yeah.
By the way, he called Paul Reed spectacular in his post-game presser.
Wow. Wow. We are thriving, baby.
He's literally watching our show. We did it. We did it. Because if you want, here we have RJ saying, play Paul Reed, good things happen. You can't deny that he's a positive. Yeah, he's got some negatives in his game, no question, but the positives consistently outweigh everything else. And that's been the case this entire season. I'm just really happy that Paul Reed, it's so interesting that an article that kind of screams Doc Rivers might be on the hot seat sooner than later is the night that Paul freaking Reed is the first player off the bench tonight after we've been screaming on these post-game shows to put more Paul Reed. But like you said, Tiago, I love Doc's decision to play heavy minutes of Paul Reed, DeAnthony Melton, PJ Tucker, man. That's the hustle, man. That's the hustle, the grit, the toughness, the physicality I want to see on this team every single time Embiid is off the court, man. That is really good stuff to see. That's kind of what I was expecting from the jump, game one. And you look at my player of the game, Joel Embiid, of course. I go, the 16 out of 16 free throws is great, but my goodness, the Sixers had 15 offensive rebounds in this game, and Joel Embiid had 7 of them. When's the last time that happened? The Sixers were really doing a great job of crashing the offensive glass, being physical in the paint, and I think it really showed. I'm going to look at I think the Suns had more points in the paint than the Sixers, but it didn't feel like that. They weren't killed on the glass and in the paint like they have in recent games. So Joel Embiid is an easy pick for me tonight. Quentin says player of the game is New York Jets, Detroit, and Baltimore Ravens. My gosh, I need to find out what that score is between the Ravens and the Saints right now. But let's talk about that article, Tiago, because Keith Pompey put out a interesting, to say the least, write-up on Doc Rivers and how difficult this job is in Philadelphia right now. I didn't read it because I'm sorry, I'm not a Pompey fan. Great information if you want information on the Sixers, but everything else, no thanks. What about you, Tiago?
Yeah, man. There was a lot there, and I thought that it would be a good time to talk about it because Doc Rivers has an ability to twist history and twist facts. There's no doubt that article had a Doc Rivers touch on it. Doc Rivers is working with 2 Hall of Fame players, Joel Embiid and James Harden, and an all-star level player in Tyrese Maxey. I don't want to hear about you not having enough pieces to win a championship. Every single publication, every single talking head put the Sixers at the very top, if not at the near top of the Eastern Conference, and an NBA final contender. If your team is not delivering, that's on you because you have the pieces. So that's number one. Number two, he has a history of throwing people under the bus on the way out the door. He did it in Boston. He did it very vividly in LA. So if on the way out the door, you want to pump up your phony resume because you are an overrated head coach by all accounts, that's fine. I'm okay with that. But if on the way out the door, you want to throw players under the bus, then that's just gutless and that's coward behavior. And I think that if I'm Joel Embiid, if I'm James Harden, if you guys read the article, there are very vivid quotes about Embiid not being ready to play, James Harden being too slow, Maxey not being ready for the moment. I'm paraphrasing, but you can infer that from the article very vividly. That's just gutless behavior. So, be better, Doc Rivers. If you're trying to get your message out to the public, do so in a more classy way, for lack of better terms. So again, we'll see. But I read that article and I thought it was just gutless, absolutely gutless. So we'll see.
Yeah. Sean, any thoughts?
Yeah, I was also just surprised to read the article and some of the points that were brought up in that, kind of what you talked about, like he specifically referred to how Harden and Embiid's play styles are just not meant to mix, which I just I just totally I just don't see that the case, especially considering like the pick and roll numbers, the on off splits when these two are on the court, like that's just not the case. And if sure, all these guys have their flaws, like you can nitpick things about both these players, but there are tons of coaches around the NBA that would be dying to have these two as like the core of your team. And I think to make it out like it's such a difficult job is very overstated at the minimum. And I don't know, it's very strange timing to kind of be in like cover up mode like 10 games in the season. So not a great sign overall. And I'm surprised it came out, but I don't know. I'm interested to see what happens from here within the Sixers organization. I think the results matter a ton in these next few games, and we'll see how things shake out.
Yeah. Superhero 18 says Harden and Embiid. Saying Embiid and Harden do not fit was blasphemy. Yeah. Absolutely agree here. Quentin says, I don't like Doc's coaching, but he's missing some things. Playmaking, athletic wings, and a backup center.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. He's got a backup center. He doesn't play him, and he's got athletic wings like Matisse Thybulle. He doesn't play him. You have him. Play them. You see the impact they have on the court. So, sorry, Quentin.
And Bill says, the thing that stood out to me in the article was George Niang's support of Doc Rivers. Maxey, I'm sure, is a big supporter. What about Harden and Embiid? We're not getting rid of Doc without their support.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, considering the way they were referred to in the article, I can't imagine it sat great with either one of these guys. And these two, I would say more than anyone in this organization matters what the perception of, like, if either Embiid or Harden go to Morey and say, like, I have serious issues with how he's doing, that's gets the ball rolling more than anything else that could happen. I would say even more than a stretch of losses. So I don't know. It's definitely not the ideal start to the season all around from a vibes, from a success, anything. And I'm more open to the idea that a change might actually occur than I originally thought.
Yeah. All right. Quentin says agree to disagree. Let's do final thoughts and plugs. Lead off, Tiago. Final thoughts on this one.
Overall, I thought it was a phenomenal effort for the Sixers. This is the kind of efforts you want moving forward.
Yeah,
they're going to have a nice little stretch here with Atlanta and Milwaukee. I think it's a good opportunity for them to – they're probably not going to win all these games without Harden, but I think to really kind of set a baseline of how they want to play moving forward for the rest of the year, because they're going to be tested. Atlanta's playing really, really good basketball.
Yeah.
They just took down Milwaukee. Milwaukee's the best defensive team in the NBA. So I'm not looking necessarily for wins, but I think if they put this kind of effort out on the court in the next couple week or so, I think we'll be pleased with the overall outcome of these games. So we'll look forward to those games for sure.
Yeah. What about you, Sean?
Yeah, definitely. I thought this was a step in the right direction, which is all we can ask for one game at a time. It was improved on both sides of the ball. We saw closer to the best version of Joel Embiid, which is extremely important. I thought this is the best he's looked all season on both sides of the ball. So it's a step in the right direction. It's one in the win column and getting closer to getting back on track.
Yeah. You stole my thunder, Tiago. Like, my final thought is the back-to-back games coming up with the Atlanta Hawks, man. I'm actually kind of excited to see how the Sixers match up with a team like that when you have Trae Young and DeJounte Murray in that backcourt. That's going to be really, really fun to watch. I haven't seen – oh, go ahead.
Sorry, finish your thought, Chris.
Yeah, like, have we seen the Sixers go up against a team with that firepower in the backcourt? And that's kind of – the Sixers kind of have struggled against teams with, scores in that kind of backcourt this year a little bit. Not today. They held on okay today. but they put up some serious points from guards in this season. So go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to add on to that because it's still very early, but I think the Eastern Conference is a lot stronger than people give it credit for. You saw the impact Donovan Mitchell had on Cleveland so far, and you see the impact that both DeJounte Murray and Trae Young are having in Atlanta. These are teams that I necessarily consider in the Sixers level, but especially Cleveland with Donovan Mitchell at his level and the defense that they play around him. I think that's a formidable team going into the year. And I think that's a team that perhaps the Sixers didn't have on their calendar, but they may want to consider as a potential foe to get into the NBA Finals. So it's still very early, but like you said, Atlanta, Cleveland, it's not necessarily as clean of a path to the Eastern Conference Finals as potentially we thought early in the year. So exciting for sure, but yeah, there's definitely stuff to sort out here in the coming couple weeks.
Awesome. All right, guys, that wraps it up. We're closing shop here. Please give this video a like if you love Paul Reed, if you love Georges Niang, career from three, career game from three. Follow my man Sean on Twitter down there at Sean_Bernard1. Check out PickSwap Media. Wherever you're watching, hit that subscribe button for everything Philadelphia 76ers. My man over there, Tiago, at Tiago PHL. Just so objective when it comes to studying this Sixers basketball team. One of the best on Twitter. And then I am Dives, Mr. Crockpot. Anything else you guys want to plug before we hang it up here, Sean?
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'll have an article on heavy.com in the morning that you can check out with a little more breakdown of the Pompey article and kind of my thoughts on that. So that might be worth reading if that kind of piqued your interest.
I'm going to read that for sure.
We will have Birds of the Round Table with a Sixers, Eagles, Commanders preview for I think they play Monday night next week, which sucks. I hate Monday night games more than anyone, man. They're absolutely the worst. I wake up so early in the mornings, but thank you everyone for watching. The comments were awesome as always. Bill, Quentin, Superhero 18, thanks for stopping in. For Sean, for Tiago, for myself. Stay awesome, everyone. Sixers get the W. See you on Thursday night. Stay awesome, everyone.